Hello again, everybody. Trillium Rose. Where is she? We are looking for her. No viewers yet. Mark Grace. Hello, Mark. Greg Yellen. Darren. Trillium. There she is. She's in now. Hey, Coach Brown. Trillium, how are you?
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
I'm good. I'm in my customary seat here,
Good.
looking forward to learning from you. I love that you've got some plants in the background. It's this good lighting. It's so awesome. Way to go.
I'm taking my cues from you. You've got the best light. You must be facing a window.
Yes, I am. I even have a little secret light right here that
Oh,
just,
that's
we've got to smooth out some of these sun marks and all that. Yeah.
yeah. I couldn't quite get the reflectors going and do all that jazz, but I'm trying.
Yes, as a photographer, I know a little bit about lighting, and so I'm like, we got to get that ambient light coming in. That works best. The other direction, no good. How you doing?
Great. Okay. I should say that under the cloak of a kind of a down. Obviously, the landscape. We don't have to. We don't talk much to know why things are upsetting, but I think personally, I've been finding some real silver linings in this time, this unbelievable time where we've had a chance to catch up on life admin and read things that I had wanted to read and drill in a little deep, watch things I wanted to watch. I loved your series, really loved all these
Thank
Instagram
you.
lives.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on, Trill. I'm excited to learn from you. It has been kind of cool. There's been a lot of good information shared. I think, and I was talking to someone earlier this morning, that you only got the good information if you were inside the bubble in
Yeah.
the past. And now it seems like that bubble has opened up and a whole bunch of coaches, a whole bunch of golfers, and people are being let in. So that they can listen to and take information from these amazing minds, these amazing coaches, these super experienced people in the industry. And it's been so good. I think, I must say, there's a good feeling of goodwill. It's
Yeah.
almost like people are like, hey, what can I do to help out? How can I help you? And that's cool to see in the golf industry. Well, you know, and I know for a long time, there's sometimes, too often, there's not that feeling of kindness and
Yeah.
goodwill amongst each other. But it is good at the moment.
And also when you go to a summit or you're in person and afterwards there are roundtable discussions, people are collecting into groups. You may happen to catch on with some people you don't know, and you can overhear the conversations, or sometimes they're in someone's hotel room or whatever. Like that's how I think some of the best learning for me has happened, just by sharing ideas. Now,
Yeah.
anyone can be at the table. You can have 1,000 people at the table, and they're right there, front row.
Yeah. It's neat. They can even sneak a question in if they get lucky. You know, I know
Totally.
it's amazing. You've done quite a few of these, and I've done a lot of these, and you can only get to a few questions. You really, it's oftentimes the discussion takes a journey of its own. And I know I've got some questions and some specific topics I want to talk to you about. Trill, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Director of instruction, just give us the background and the 1 minute lineup there.
Okay, quick lineup. Yep, I'm a director of instruction at a club, and most of my day, I'd say all of my day, most of my week is working with average players. I often like to give everybody a little nod, like incredible people, great jobs, but the 15, 10, 5 to 30 handicap player, and
Yeah.
I've been doing it for over 15 years, but I'd say I've been a strong, straight 10 years of just like fast paced working with people on the one-on-one and then with some groups. So that's a majority of my time. I did go back to school.
You're
I
a
did
mom. You're a mom.
a
That's a big
mom.
chunk of your time.
I am a mom. a very rewarding chunk of my time, and
Yes.
that's been a fun balance. So yeah, I do
And
a lot what I can to get people better at golf.
and so tell people a little bit about, you teach the same clientele that I teach. The everyday golfer looking to have more fun when they go out and play on a Saturday or a Wednesday afternoon or whatever it might be. But you have a little bit of a specialty to what you do, and it filters its way into every lesson you give. But I know if I've got questions pertaining to practice and this mode of practice and this type of practice, you went to school and are super smart and officially educated in motor skills, skill development, those kind of things. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think the genesis of this was, people just didn't have time to spend practicing, and what they were doing in between lessons was, this sort of enigma for me. Like, I think the ultimate issue that I was looking for was, how can I get people better faster?
Yeah.
And how can I make people's practice smarter? And how can I be a better coach so that what I'm telling them is actually going to produce some work? Like if you're on a bicycle and there's no resistance, like, are you doing anything? You're moving your legs, but we all know you're not really doing much.
You're not getting anywhere.
You're not getting anywhere. Exactly. And so I really wanted to figure out, how can I crank the resistance up on that bike so that people are working, and if they're they're actually improving, or they're, whatever we're trying to do, they're doing it. And so I just personally had a lot of questions, and I had a lot of, I'd say, doubt with my own answers. I just wasn't quite sure whether I was giving people the right information. So I really wanted to look into the science behind, there's 125 years worth of research in the cognitive psychology domain, as well as the neurology and now motor learning. So I was interested in seeing, like, what does the empirical research have to say behind learning? And, how can I cross-reference that with what I'm doing? So, that was a very personal journey for me as a coach. I don't feel like everybody needs to do that, but for me, what that brought to the table was this different perspective on, I was looking for silver bullets, I was looking for shortcuts. How can you just do it? So I think, I've grown quite a bit, and I have a few things that I use in every single lesson, and we'll talk about them today.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Here's my take, Drill, and I love to talk to Como, and you speak to Como on this. And there are golfers, typically over in Asia, who've never stepped foot on a golf course, and they get their large bucket of balls and they whack those balls multiple times a week, and they just peel those balls down there, and they are who they are as a golfer. And then there are golfers at your club, at my club, who will play 5 rounds of golf a week.
Yeah.
They never ever see the driving range. And both of those sets of golfers are not very good.
Right.
They're not very good. And so to me, on the golf course is the ultimate random practice. And just pounding balls for your entire golf career is the ultimate in block practice. And so I would argue that the answer when it comes to practicing, and we're getting into this quickly because this is always something I think about a lot. Block practice, random practice. Can you just give us a definition as to how you would define each of those, and then the important stuff, what you think and how we need to approach it?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. This topic has been circulating around a lot lately, maybe in the last year.
Yeah.
It's been looked at a lot, but I think I've heard it used incorrectly. So I'm glad we're talking about this.
Uh-huh.
Block practice would be kind of single-minded, rote repetition, in some ways maybe just memorization, same target, same club, over and over. And
Consistency.
Consistency, right? Oh, I just want to groove it. I'm just going to do it over and over. I'm going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it's grooved.
Yes, yes.
And that's sort of, I know why that came about. And I want to talk about random quickly, but I know why the block practice came about. So I don't think it's a negative. It just, it is what it is. And when we plug it into the context of learning, I think people will, be able to make good choices when they use it. So then random would be, variation, spacing in terms of time, changing the environment, changing the parameter. So it'd be changing the task quite often. That'd be random. So like, as you said, on the golf course, every shot is different.
Yes.
So that would be the ultimate random practice, like you said. So, okay, having said that, let's just honor the fact that a golf swing is highly complex from the technical standpoint. You had how many, 40 people on your lives, and all 40 had different aspects that they're experts in with various phases of a swing, right?
Yes, yes. A golf swing is so complex, it's impossible to replicate.
Yes.
It's impossible to replicate a golf swing.
That's true. That's 100% true. And from a neurological standpoint, I mean, forget it. You just have a bundle of chemicals going on, a bundle of synapses and networks. There's no way the process of a thought to an output can be exactly the same every time. Nor should that even be a priority, frankly, because we're not gymnasts with the exact same equipment trying to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like the balance beam is the exact same environment every single time. Yeah. Now a gymnast may say, well, wait a sec, the crowd's different, the lights are different, the stakes are different. Okay, so all right, we'll say, all right, you're right. It's not quite tennis players. I love getting into this with tennis players who are like, no way, the wind and the surface and the temperature of the air and all of that makes it different. I'm like, okay, have you played golf?
Like, yeah, good luck.
Right? So I think, what we're trying to do is do the same thing every time, but that's not really what golf's about. I mean,
ish. I like that. I like, and Trill, I find that when golfers, because all golfers, their favorite word, when I actually, at the start of my 3-day golf schools, I ask everybody, what's your objective? But I have one condition. You're not allowed to use the word consistency. And it blows everybody up, and they go, oh, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to say now.
That's why I came.
Yeah, every golfer is looking for consistency. Yet, if we have this discussion in front of everyday golfers, they're going, hold on, I'm practicing. And I think when golfers have the mindset to go out and practice in order to achieve consistency, a lot of golfers, my sense is that they have this vision of this robot standing out there on the range, just peeling out shot after shot after shot after shot. And thankfully, I say to people, us human beings are far better, far more advanced than any robot could ever be.
That's a nice way to put it, because that gives people some optimism too.
Yes.
And it's true.
Yeah.
So, but we know why they want it. Okay. This is such an interesting topic because when you go, so I think most people think that they're not getting better because they need to just ingrain the same thing. Well, let's think of it rather as a skill. So it's not just a repetition, but we're working on a skill.
Yeah. Can you define a skill for us? How would you define a skill, Trill?
Sure. So a skill would be a skill is a movement that solves a particular problem with maybe a variable conditions and parameters that are changing. So a skill would be putting together a motor program for a particular output. That's sort of a black and white definition. But
okay, would you say a skill is something that everybody can achieve?
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody can pick up a skill. Yeah. Now,
Okay.
now, can I be as? I mean, I can't be Yo-Yo Ma on a cello, but I can learn how to produce a certain note on a cello. I can learn how to produce a string of notes.
You can. Everybody can learn to bounce a ball 10 times on the club face.
Yes.
Would you say swinging the club at exceedingly high speeds is a skill?
Yes. Well, yes, in that if your technique, I think technique plays a role. Technique and strength. So
it's not a skill.
If
okay, and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit because this is something I'm trying to rectify. It's an old battle that I had along many years ago online where people said hitting the ball far is a skill.
Yeah.
And my take is this. I think everybody can learn to hit the ball far there.
Farther, yeah.
But you and I will never get to Kyle Berkshire.
Never.
Why? Because of physical attributes.
Yes.
I will never be able to dunk a basketball. Why?
Right.
Because of physical attributes. And so to me, yes, learning how to dunk a basketball is, if I had a hoop that was set according to my height, I could learn the skill of dunking a basketball. But my physical attributes, as far as it as the hoop is currently set, doesn't allow it. And so I would say, and you can feel free to shoot me down, please do, driving the ball far, and whatever that might be, let's say 120 miles an hour and beyond, I don't think is a skill. I think part of it is a skill. Learning to move quickly is a skill, but I can only move so quickly.
That's right. So I agree. I agree with that. Part of it's a skill that relative to one's own physical limitations okay. Or strengths or whatever.
Yeah.
You can do so much, you know. My 80-year-old father is not able to build the muscle strength at this point. So hopefully he's not watching. So he will never hit it as hard as he did in his heyday. You know, sorry, Dad.
Yeah.
But, and I think you're probably the same. I am the eternal optimist. Everybody can improve from where they are. Everybody can get better. And
yeah, I believe that.
The beauty of golf is you can always improve something at any age. So maybe my father's going to start dunking putts and start chipping it lights out. And that's possible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so I'm terribly sorry, Trill. I threw you off there. You were going to give us the goods on block, random. Do we need one? Do we need both? How does it work?
Okay, so back to the golf swing being so complex. By and large, most people do need to learn, and they need to have a plan, and they need to have a pretty clear understanding of the underlying principles behind what the problem is. Underlying principles like understanding what the face angle is, understanding dynamic loft, understanding, you know, rotation. So there are lots of specifics that good people have dug into, and you're friends with a lot of them, and I'm friends with a lot of them, about what to do. Those underlying principles are critical for somebody learning something. And then because once they have a better understanding of it, they'll have more success in those unfamiliar situations. They'll make better choices and better decisions. So that's more of like a cognitive thing, but I think if you plug it into the movement, okay, someone understands where their loft needs to be through, you know, a 50-yard pitch shot. They understand how much rotation they're trying to get with their torso. Okay, they understand where their wrist mechanics, you know, they're trying to be. So they have the plan.
Yeah.
But now one needs to actually implement that and work it out by doing it. And that may look a lot like block practice.
Mm-hmm.
It may look a lot like doing the same thing over and over because you've got a pile of balls and you're trying to make that happen. But you need to figure out, well, what am I flicking? Am I stopping my shots? Am I dunking the club into the ground? You know, is my leading edge flying in? For a while, probably the answer is yes, if someone's never done the shot. And so therefore that block practice, that's a chance to do it and work through some of these little details. It's really, really important, like really important. So I get very scared when I hear the word randomize, randomize, randomize before someone's ready, you know? So, you know,
I just get all fuzzy when I hear this kind of talk, Trill, because I love to hear that. I'm such a big advocate of both. We need both, and we all need both in varying degrees. Would you be able to? It sounds like you would go with that.
Oh, 100%. But here's where it gets hard for people.
Yeah.
And I'm victim of too because I'm human. Everyone is. It's misleading, like to think that okay, I'm hitting. I mean, I love going into our short game area with my 54-degree wedge from 40, 50, 60 yards. And I love hitting those low checkers. I love it. And it makes me feel like I'm so good at this
amazing
stuff. Yeah. I just love it. And I might like, okay, I'll go to that target, but I'm more or less doing the same shot.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like ego building more than it is skill building.
I love it. A term I read a few years ago. Sports psychologists call that the illusion of competence.
Yes, that's right. The illusion of competence, and it's exciting, you know, because we feel like we're being productive. But the problem is those gains are sometimes only pretty temporary. I would be better off doing what I did when I was like the first year into the golf business, when my job was to go pick up the balls on the range at the end of the day, or you know, rather stretching area. So I'd bring my wedge because it was covered with trees, no one could see me, and instead of actually picking them up quickly, I would just hit the shots in. So every ball was from a different place, and I would have 100 of them. That was probably the best practice that I ever got in, right?
Yeah, but it was a different stance, and you were walking in and hitting them as you were stepping, and you know, that was cool.
Yes. So each shot I had to recreate. I had to solve a little problem each time. Okay, this one's on. Oh, this one's going to be fun. It's in a hole. This one's up above my feet. Okay, how am I going to do this? Now the result, you know, when you looked at them, I didn't feel like I was a pro ready to go shoot 65.
Yeah.
But that the act of retrieving the memory, because really what we're talking about are memories. How can I pull together a solution to this from memory? Okay, now I know, oh, ball above the feet. I know what this is going to feel like. And I know that it's going to adjust my lie angle. That's going to adjust the direction. There's lots of things that are going to be affected here. I may end up hitting a little bit low in the face because what? So then you have to pull it together, and that strength, that retrieval, is what strengthens and makes more durable, lasting learning.
Okay. I would say, by the sound of things, that also makes it easier for the player to apply it in multiple different conditions.
Yeah.
The first time up. And I've got this very simple thing that I created, and it was all built on anecdotal experience that I had gathered over the years standing out on the lesson tee. I call it, just so everyone can remember, I think it's important for us to have simple stuff to remember. I call it swing, skill, shot. And so I like for people to block and spend some time taking ownership of the changes, the upgrades. Then I want them to challenge themselves to see what they can do with their swing. Low one, high one, thin one, toe one, heel one, top one, whatever. And I like to give them 2 goes at each. And so if you're trying to take a 7-iron and hit a John Rahm flop shot with your 7-iron, you're going to go, well, here, watch this. Oh, well, that was a fail. You got one more go. On the golf course, you don't. Not that you would be flopping with the 7-iron, but we're just pushing the boundaries of what you can do with the golf club.
You know,
then, go ahead.
You just made me think of some. I heard you say once, and I agreed with you, that kids are very good at that, where they're playing around. So kids are good at saying, all right, and I used to do this too. All right, we're gonna hit that tree, but if it bounces right, you get a point. If it goes left, you don't. Oh, okay, we're gonna do it. And then you get creative. Okay, but you have to do it with your 7-iron. Like, and then can you make it more aggressive, or can you make it harder and harder? Right now from here, now from here. And all those little experiences give somebody this memory that, oh wait, I have opened up that 7. So when I am in that bunker, I know that trajectory because I've seen it before. I've done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it
and
feels
that's where it plugs in. That's exactly where it plugs in, is no 2 golf shots on the golf course are the same. And so let's learn. Even if you take one club and you hit 20 different types of shots with that one club, you're learning to control the speed, the face, the angle of attack, the path, to cause the golf ball to match the picture in your head.
That's right. Someone said exploring. That's right. Exploring.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's my skill development, and Stuart's the top man on that. Stuart, get ready. I'm calling you.
Then when you go onto the golf course, that's really the ultimate test to see, okay, it just kind of calibrates your judgment as to whether or not you're doing as well as you think you're doing. So when I hear people say, well, I can do it on the range, but not on the course, it's like, okay, well, that means you really haven't strengthened that skill enough. So whatever you're doing on the range isn't a good indicator of how strong that skill is, you know. But so it's really the measure of how well we've learned something.
You're not putting that skill to the fire on the range enough. You're not testing it enough. And that's where that final S shot comes in, where people come back inside the lines and they pick out very specific targets, very specific type of shots that they're trying to hit, and they're changing targets, trying to hit to the left of a pin, to the right of a pin, different clubs, and trying to almost bridge the gap between practicing on the range and, okay, I got to be ready to get out there and go and play on the golf course.
That's right. And so I think there are people, I think Ian Highfield has done a great job of coming up with games. Yeah. So now there's a whole discussion, a whole thread, and I'm so supportive of this, of how can you make your practice, Olympia talked about this quite a bit too. How can you do things on the range that are not just sort of mindlessly and bored? Trent Warner's come up with a lot of great scrimmages you can do. I mean, not everybody has a golf course, right? So we have to sort of get creative. I think there's some certain devices like Rapsodo, which I just sort of became more formally associated with. Rapsodo is this little launch monitor, a very affordable launch monitor that can track your carry distances, your dispersion. You see a little shot shape.
That's cool.
So, and trajectory, miles per hour on your driver. So you can start benchmarking and start creating parameters for what you're trying to do, instead of just, oh, I think it went 10 yards left, but who knows, it felt good,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. The Trill, I see that you are recently affiliated with Arcos. What role do you, to what role do you incorporate statistics in your golf lessons?
Okay, I love Arcos, so it's funny that that opportunity came about because I was probably one of their biggest fans before that. Our so for people that don't know what Arcos is, it's the Bluetooth device that either you can plug into the end of your grip or you can actually put the grip with the Arcos embedded in it on your
Yeah.
clubs. So each club has its own set of data. So when you go out and play, you have either your phone on, or I think they are developing a little sort of receiver that you can flip wear on your belt. So all of this information is then on your app when you're done. Hello. So brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So proximity to the hole, missing long, short, right, left. What are you carrying? What are you using more often? What's your longest? What's your shortest? What's your overall score? How many putts? I mean, all of these little things that to me make up, that's the reality of where someone is. What are they actually doing? But I can't be with all 284 students that I have. I would love to, but
Yeah.
So the next best thing is to be able to see what they're doing. I mean, I know what their swings are, but what are you actually producing, and how is that skill manifesting in terms of stats? So I'm a huge fan of numbers. I'm a huge fan of measuring. I'm a huge fan of TrackMan. I know you are too. One of your followers just asked, how do you think your teaching has changed with TrackMan? So man, a lot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just better understanding. You look at a shot, and you've used TrackMan for a long time. I've used it for a long time. I'm to the point now where I'm not going to say I can see the numbers, but I can tell you what numbers produce that ball flight. And so you look at it and you go, well, that's just not going to work on a predictability performance basis. And so let's go back and try to see if we can move those numbers. I was talking with a kid that I've taught since he was 8 years old, and he said the other day he's finally learned that TrackMan is like this amazing feel machine. And once he understood the numbers, it's like, oh, it's ball flight. And so if I get the ball to do this, then the numbers will start to align with what he's looking for. And that's really it. It's just a diagnostic tool that helps me make better informed decisions when it comes to coaching. And so as a result, I'm right more often.
Yeah.
More often, not perfect though.
I think it's also a nice way. It doesn't have to be TrackMan. It could be, I mean, there's lots of great tools now that are out there.
Yeah.
Foresight and Flight Scope has been there for a long time.
It doesn't matter what you've got, as long as a coach you've got something. But back to Arcos, because I'm a huge Arcos fan, Trill, and I see the value of what it can bring to not only golfers, but coaches as well, giving us the ability to see what our students are doing out in the battlefield, so to speak. And I think to myself, it's low-hanging fruit. If a golfer is looking to save strokes, the average, this is not a commercial for Arcos by any means, but the average Arcos user saves 4.2 strokes by getting the technology. 4.2 strokes is what they save on average. They have 300,000 users. And I think as a golfer, if you're looking to lower your score, it's a no-brainer. It's low-hanging fruit. You have to do it. You have to get in on the numbers game that all the PGA Tour players have available to them, that these players didn't have 20 years ago, and they're all taking advantage of it and seeing where they're weak, where they're strong, and they're using it to influence their practice. You're using it to influence the message you give to that student in front of you and how you work towards improvement with them.
100%. My husband husband has it. And I feel like I've helped him without even really seeing his swing at times.
Yeah.
Just by looking at what he's doing. I mean, how great is that? That I don't have to, I feel confident that even without, let's say someone can take 4 strokes out of their game, maybe more, because that was an average, right?
Yes.
I could at least do another 3 just by looking. Couldn't you?
Yeah. It's just a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's something we have available to us. The PGA Tour players have had it available for the last 15 odd years, but now the everyday golfer has this information available to them, and it's going to save you strokes. You've just got to do it. Are you prepared to do it? That's the difference.
Totally. It's not like Arcos is the first group to say, hey, let's keep track of these things. But I think they're the first and best at doing it a very comprehensive analysis, very comprehensive. Their data is huge. But for me, making it really easy for people.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be.
Yes. You don't have to write anything down. You don't have a sheet. You don't have to, I love Pete Sanders and Shot by Shot, and he's done a great, I think plowed the way through, someone just said compare to Shot. I love my Shot by Shot. So I'm not going to say anything negative about any other stat keeping system. I just happen to use Arcos, and I really love the ease of it, not because I'm lazy, but because I don't want to be thinking about anything. I just want to play. I don't want to
play golf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trill, talk to me a little bit about bad habits. Would you? Bad habits. There's lots of different bad habits, but we're going to stay focused primarily on golf here. So let's say, someone's got, it can be a course management problem that the person has, where they always pick they always pick not enough club. That's a bad habit. Or how do we as human beings, can you give us some information to help us we know there's no shortcuts. There's no well, there might be. You may have something. What you got for us?
I'm always looking for shortcuts. Again, not lazy, but I just love efficiency. I love the German engineering.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, in life, we have habits. We do things that maybe annoy our spouse or whatever. So, you got to work out the stuff with your parents. You got to take a look at yourself. What am I doing? How am I responsible for this? And that's really the same in motor skill, where habits really are just memories that are kind of ingrained. Like you just without thinking, just kind of go after it and do it. Unfortunately, the earliest patterns we learn from a motor skill are usually the strongest. So if it's something that's happened early, like let's say for me, for example, I played with men's graphite length and shaft clubs when I was a junior. Too heavy, too long.
Yeah.
I didn't cast because I grew up playing ice hockey. That wasn't an issue.
Okay.
Strong arms, but I couldn't really manage it. I had to kind of anyway, my swing as a result had some funny things. It was very long. I was also very flexible. Anyway, so those things stuck with me for a long time. I still do them sometimes. Maybe other people don't notice it, but I do. So to undo it, really, that's in my mind. I'm thinking undo it, but really what I'm doing is you're just trying to recreate a new one, and you kind of have to start from scratch in terms of the arc of learning, where you have to be very conscious of it. So that has to start. Well, first of all, you need a good diagnostic to figure out what it is you're doing. And probably in a golf swing, it's just a little piece of a bigger mechanism. It's probably like, oh, your elbow's not high enough, or it's like one little segment. So then you have to kind of tease out, what does it feel like when you're doing that?
Yeah.
What exactly does that feel like? And then can you spend a little time getting the feel? What's the feel of doing it a different way? So this is where I like training aids that give you a chance to feel it differently. There's some good training aids out there for that. There's also some good training aids, like a 2x4 is a great training aid.
Yeah, what do you think of training aids, Trill? I don't typically use a lot of training aids in my teaching. I like to get in people's way or put things in their way and make them avoid those obstacles. But I'm not a big training aid person. What do you think about training aids, and are they good? Should people get them? What are good ones? What should we look for training aid wise?
I'm glad to hear that you get in people's way. I'm thinking of like a gauntlet where you've got to avoid something. Where you've got, so it's there because you want to be aware of what happens. The ball is, in a position. So if your swing direction is too far left, you'll hit it if your swing direction. So you've got to avoid the ball to improve your swing direction. Those are great ways to create feedback without doing it for someone. So it sounds like you already know this, or at least instinctively, that you're asking someone. A good training aid is going to ask someone to solve the problem from scratch as opposed to do it for them. So there are training aids out there, I'm not going to name names, that like wrap you up and
that force you to do it.
Right.
You don't really have a choice. You have no choice but to do it the right way. And I know people look at that and they go, oh, well, that's awesome.
Right. It's a brace. I got like a brace. Okay. Well, that's okay for maybe the first 5 shots. Like if you really don't have a sense of what it feels like, but you got to be able to do it on your own. So space it out. So do 5 shots, throw it off to the side, do it on your own, figure out if you actually did it. So you got to set up the environment so that you have some kind of feedback. Go back to it again a little here and there, but I'd say by and large, the best ways to learn are ways that people get frustrated with me. Some of my students get frustrated. They're like, I need something to, they want more, they want it to feel good, but I know that's not the best for them.
Trill, correct me if I'm wrong. In my not super smart brain, this is how I picture
You're smart.
motor patterns or even bad habits. And it's that connection, that synapse between the neurons and or whatever you call them. And I picture like this tunnel, this underground tunnel. And if I travel down that tunnel every day, the ground gets smooth and it gets easy to walk, and there's not a lot of cobwebs and roots kind of growing down and getting in my way. And if I travel down that motor pattern, that way of moving every day, that tunnel gets smoothed out and it becomes easy to traverse. When I try to change that, I've got to leave that tunnel that's very easy to traverse and go to this different tunnel that's got these roots and cobwebs and mud and all this stuff in it that's quite difficult. But I think if people, I know in my head that's how I think about it. I don't know if it's correct or not. Would you say that's almost an appropriate way to look at it? You've got to travel down there to clean it out and get the new one ready for travel.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying based on this imagery here, that and there is myelination when you're developing. So the neuron fires and the synapse is that electrical current, and then the synapses create a neural network, which is kind of it's like a string of Christmas lights in your head. And the lights, when they flash together, kind of make a picture or thought or plan. And if the more you do it, the stronger those currents in that network become. And especially especially when you're learning something young at a young age. Myelination is this like coating that goes along the that synaptic part of the neuron, and it makes the whole message become faster and more efficient, and kind of like you said, like a paved road as opposed to blazing it through the jungle. Yeah, you're not out there with a machete trying to stop and go like when you are when you're at the beginning. So you have a path that's clear, and yes, that makes sense. Problem is if it's slightly off path, like you have to really feel it kind of gets a little blurred, or sometimes your path gets wider, and so like maybe you don't want a whole lot of let's put this into golf terms. So if you have too much of a, let's say you have too much of a draw, and then you're like, okay, well, I got to feel like I'm cutting it. I'm going to slice it. That gets you probably gets you a little bit more from the inside. Your path starts to tighten up. Those numbers get a little lower. Well, let's say you really are trying to work on hard fades, hard cuts, and you're like, okay, now I want to get 3 from the outside, 4 from the outside. So you went from 4 positive to 4 negative, or maybe even more than that. Well, now you've got this really wide road. Like you have big options now.
Yeah. I see that.
Which lane are you going to be in?
Okay.
So this is why I'd rather see someone in not at an elite level. I'm not talking about the elite player. I mean, maybe there are some elite players that are better off just honing in on one and keeping that a bread and butter. But at a club level, at an amateur level, especially at a junior level, just get one really strong.
Okay. And preferably the right one. Preferably the right one. Get that and pretty much stick to that. Would you say that matches, Scott Fawcett always talks about stick to your shape. Would that philosophy align with that?
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly right.
Okay.
So I get worried. I get worried when I hear and see players try to, well, at the amateur level, there are no stakes. They're still going to be able to make the mortgage payment. But at the tour level, I get worried when I see players try to push themselves into directions that maybe, are they going to pay off?
Yeah.
I often thought, and I'm not, I love Tiger. I'm not going to say, but I always wondered, Tiger has this yearn he's so competitive to get better. Why? I mean, I know what he did, and he actually pulled it off. But while he was in that,
the question is, did he though?
He won the Masters with his comeback.
No, but no, hold on. I'm looking at his changes. Like, he's changed his swing so many times. Like, did he pull it off and get better, or could he have? And we'll never know if he'd have stayed there and just said, I'm gonna just get really good with this one method, this one approach. And it's not Tiger. It didn't happen, and we're really just talking hypothetically here. And so someone could always say, did he? Yes, he came back and he won. And I must say, I thought he was done, finished.
Okay, the Tiger's an anomaly. We know that he's just he's out in outer space in terms of how no one has that.
Yes.
He did it. But I actually, while he was going through all this stuff, I was thinking the same thing. Like, why my question is, why don't you pick up something that's going to be you thrive on challenges, Tiger does. Why don't you challenge yourself with playing the guitar, or whatever, or like baseball, or do something that's going to, I mean, I think a physical skill might kind of influence golf, but just like satiate that need for challenge in some other way.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he did that Navy SEAL training, and
Right.
maybe that's why he did some of that, you know.
Right.
And who knows? Who
But
knows?
other
But
people,
I see where you're going with it. Is yeah, let's challenge yourself in other ways.
yeah, learn how to, be a great sushi chef, or like grow bonsai, or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Trill, go ahead.
there are a lot of people, I hate to say it, that have made big changes and haven't, come out on top with them.
Yes,
So
no
we
doubt about it. And Grant Wade said it the other day. Grant Wade said, "There's always a cost. There's always a cost." And when you and I teach the 90 shooter to work on something that's going to enable them to start breaking 90 on a more regular basis,
right.
the cost might be, well, I shoot 95 for a week, but now I'm shooting 85.
Right.
The cost for Tiger might be, I haven't won a major championship for a decade.
Right.
And so the cost is a lot bigger. Someone who's playing for a living, someone who's really trying to get somewhere as a golf professional, or a competitive golfer, that's a different deal. I think the cost for someone looking to break 190, 80 is smaller, but there's a cost.
There's definitely a cost. I think that's right. So at the yeah, especially at a high level, right, where their stakes are high, there's a whole mental component that's bigger than it is for most people who haven't achieved that level of success with their swings. But at the regular level, just go with what you've got. And I spend a lot of time trying to pick through, when I'm giving someone a diagnostic, what are we going to salvage and what we're not. And I try to keep as much as possible. I just try to keep
That's
as much.
cool. I like that. I
Yeah,
like
well,
that. Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you do too. It's so, like you said, or Grant Wade said, it's just expensive. It's expensive to make changes in time and in effort, and probably in money if you're going to do it right and get a good coach.
Are the returns there? Are the returns there? That's the question. Trill, what do you see? You know all this learning stuff and how coaches should go about handling people and working towards helping them improve. What mistakes? What are some common mistakes that you see coaches make?
You know, I love you, everybody. I love you. If you're just starting, good. But ask a lot of questions. So I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I'm going to just go right at it. I think a lot of people, when they're starting to learn, they starting to teach, starting to learn how to teach, or getting their feet wet, give too much information.
Oh, that was me. I often think about, I worked for David Ledbetter way back in the day, and we had to go through a year-long certification. And I still remember my first official lesson.
You too?
And I thought to myself, it would be great value if I could give this gentleman everything I'd learned in this previous year in the 1 hour space. I thought, what a deal. What a deal this guy's getting. Everything I've learned in 1 year in 1 hour. Yes, yes, I'm guilty.
We all are, and so that's one. I think moving too fast through the basics is another one.
Okay.
Spend a lot of time getting those things right, and don't jump over them, because you're just gonna be, it's a house of cards that otherwise. If someone has no real good sense of where their wrist angles are, it's going to be a disaster if you start moving faster and bigger. So, having said that, if it's a new player, like, let them kind of do some big swings too. I don't want someone to be chipping for a whole year. That's boring.
Yes. How would you, if someone's just starting the game, Trill, how would you go about teaching them in a 1 minute explanation? How would you approach a brand new beginner?
Maybe I can do it faster than a minute. So I'll start with someone's basics. I think impact's really important, really, really important. So I like a 30, 40-yard shot right off the bat with kind of a sand
Okay.
wedge or pitching wedge. And then I
Yeah.
like to bring people on the golf course quickly so they can apply it and see where it fits. What are we actually doing? And then they can see how badly or perfectly they're doing. And that's exciting for people to know that they can get on the
Yeah.
course, they can actually do it. So that's
That's
kind
cool.
of the start.
That's cool. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
The
Trill, what? Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say a couple more things with early teachers. I think
Oh, yes. Yes. More, please.
I think sometimes early teachers don't give, or not, maybe not even early teachers, they give answers too quickly to students. And it's more helpful for the learner if they have to solve it rather than hear the answer. So I don't like to put all the numbers of TrackMan up. Sometimes I like to obscure them or maybe just put one number and have them guess so they can kind of build feel. Another thing is I think sometimes, and I understand why people do this, but younger coaches are like jumping to get a philosophy, and they get too fast into making like strong, hard, fixed decisions and perspectives without listening to lots of other different ways. Yeah, there's a lot of ways.
The experienced coach will hold off on jumping into a particular way or a particular method. They'll hold back and evaluate and then go from there.
That's right.
So TMI, not too much information. Don't skip over the fundamentals just because they're not sexy.
Right.
Number three. What was number three again?
Don't give them too much information. Don't give them the answer too quickly.
Let them explore and discover things on their own.
Yeah.
And fourthly, watch for latching onto, and this is how I interpreted what you said, watch for latching onto a particular model or method or way of doing things.
That's right.
Cool. Write it down. Write it down. Trill, I've got a question for you that we didn't prepare for. What is the funniest thing you've seen occur during the giving of a lesson?
I have so many, but I'm going to give one because I know she's not watching.
Okay, good.
You know, the driver's not supposed to have any dirt on it because you're not supposed to hit the ground with your driver.
Hello, everybody. We have got Coach Shauna Taylor coming on to join us here, hopefully very shortly.